To give an introduction about his lordship, he was born and raised in Madras. He studied at St. Mary's School in Perambur, and he did his UG from AM Jain College, Meenambakam, in BCom, and then went on to pursue the law at the Madras Law College from 1990 to 1993. And then he was called to the bar, that is, he was enrolled to the Madras High Court in 1993. He worked at the chambers of Senior Counsel B. Ramamurthy till 1997. And from 1997 onwards, he took up his own practice until 2018, when he was called upon to take up as an additional judge of the Madras High Court. So that is a brief introduction. I mean, he's someone who needs no introduction in the first place, but a brief outline of what we can say about him. Your Lordship, my first question to you would be, can you begin by telling us what made you choose the legal profession?
Good morning to you all first. Mother Lordship சொல்றது நிறுத்திடுங்க. Lordship is something which, I don't know, some colonial practice which is following, which I consciously think that we'll have to get rid of. There is no lordship and all that. I do one job as a judge, you do your job as an advocate, and that's it. In any case, the white man thought that you must give some stature to people sitting there, so we use words like I beg to appear. And we do this also in court, which beggars do, which a person belonging to this profession is not expected to do. So the first thing as an association which you have to consider is that please stop addressing somebody as lordship. And, no lordship, no nothing. See the way in which I have come here. So just break all those things. Let's be natural. Let's be human beings first, and then we'll get into other things. Okay, so the first question is, what made you go towards law? I think if somebody had the chance to hear some of my speeches to the junior advocates, I was a very poor student basically. I had nothing to do with academics, and as I always said that my handwriting was horrible, so I was promoted from one class to another not because I passed, but because the teacher wanted to get rid of my handwriting. So I had such a fantastic academic background. Sometimes I managed to get 100 all subjects put together. So that's the level of academics I had. So naturally, at that point of time, anybody who is not very good in academics tends to take commerce as a group. It's that learned persons who get into science. And I am so poor in science that the science teachers were shuddering whether this fellow is going to take up science in 11th standard. But good that I went to the school and they asked me which group you want. I said commerce. Very good. You are the first person who is volunteering to get into commerce, so I got the seat to commerce. I think 11th standard basically changed me, the +1 which you call. And for the first time I got exposed to this commercial law, which had this Contract Act, some Companies Act, and Sale of Goods Act, something like that. So that caught my interest. I do not know why. Sometimes it is destined that way. Something suddenly catches your interest and you start pursuing with that. And I also had a childhood friend named Sriram. So he is such a bright chap, and he used to just by heart start the Partnership Act right from section 1 to the end without looking into the paragraph. So that was another inspiration. And he sort of also talking to me about the case laws and all that. So I was enamored with all that. More than getting interested into the subject, I was enamored, and I thought that so that's how it all started. My friend Durga Prasad is here. So he is my friend from Perambur. He is a great cricket player. The only thing I consistently did was I was continuously playing cricket. And at some stage I knew that I will not be able to cross a particular level. I think the maximum I played was second division, that's all. So I was not able to cross it. So the first 3 years of BCom went into this cricket thing. I used to continuously play cricket, continuous cricket. All 3 years I paid continuation fees and wrote my BCom exams. For all wrong things they have called me here. But then I came here because this is not a group which is focusing on law, academics and all that. So I thought I am the correct person to come and address you also. So BCom I completed. Then that interest in me, in BCom I had one friend called as Harsha. He used to be a hammer thrower. So he was talking to me that I am going to get into law. Again it kindled me in the final year BCom. Final year BCom, again something within me said that why don't you get into law? Both of us took the entrance examination. I did not get Madras Law College when I wrote the first time. So I did not join any other law college. I joined the MCom. So I completed the first year MCom also through correspondence because it was very easy for me because I was playing cricket. So that was very convenient for me. Then again I took it. So then came that government order which ultimately got quashed by the High Court, where the first time graduate was given 5 marks. So since my father and mother were not graduates and they did not even cross PUC, I got the advantage of those 5 marks, therefore I got into Madras Law College. So this is my background. And after I got into the law college, something got into me. Some virus or something got into me, and I became so passionate with law and what it was saying. And at that time, we had the advantage of having the law college right next to the High Court. This is something which we have been talking for some time now, that have the law colleges near the court for that inspiration. So I had the advantage of that inspiration. So most of the time I used to be in the High Court. I used to roam around. That red building has some magnet to it. That will not talk with you. But if you continuously look at it, it will converse with you in a language, in a silent language. And if it really pulls you, then you are into it. So that's what I was doing. And towards the end of the first year, one of my uncle, he introduced me to Mr. Ramurthy. So he used to be his friend in the club. And so he said that எங்கள் வீட்டில் ஒரு பையன் சும்மாவே திரிஞ்சுனே இருக்கான், ஜோல்னா பையன் மாட்டி நாங்கள் எங்கே திரியிறான், இப்போ வேறு ஏதோ வேதாந்தா அகாடமிலாம் போகிறான், அவன் போகிற டைரக்ஷன் இஸ் நாட் குட், அதனால் கொஞ்சம் ஏதாவது பண்ணுங்கன்னு. He said yes, ask him to come. So that's how I joined Mr. Ramurthy in the final year of the first year, the last portion of the final year, last portion of the first year of my course. From then on, he gave me a free hand in the office. I can get into the office, I can take any book, I can read, I can take any brief, I can read. I used to sit when he was talking with the clients, so I got to know how you'll have to talk with clients, what actually happens at the time of preparation of a case, things like that. And by the time I completed my course, it was a 3-year course. By the time I completed the course, I was ready for arguments. Meaning I knew how to draft, because many things he used to dictate. Longhand I used to write. One jocular thing which happened was that once he was dictating, and he said that the site in which the property is located. So I wrote it as SIGHT. So he took the paper and he said that, why is the Colorado? I said, what is the spelling of site? Oh, sorry sir. So it was a great learning experience for me. And drafting I started doing. moot court, in fact, there was nothing called as moot court and all that, and I feared all these moot courts. ரொம்ப பயம் moot court லாம். I cannot stand and talk in big oratory English and all that. All that I am incapable of. So, but in the class, in the final year, there was one particular portion where you will have to prepare a case and argue. So, meaning I argued so well that everybody started asking me for notes and all that. Then I understood that, oh, நம்மளுக்கு ஆர்கியூலாம் பண்ண வரும் போல இருக்குன்னு சொல்லி then so that encouraged me a lot. So the first day of enrollment, the 13th of October 1993, I enrolled. The next day I argued a case. It was not like a first day. I thought that I've been practicing for quite some time. That's the way I used to move in court. That's the way I used to converse. So this is how I got introduced to law, and this is where I am today.
Thank you for that introduction, sir. I think it actually sheds light on what sort of a person you are also. I mean, somebody who really loves to play cricket, and I mean, you sang a lot of songs in many public occasions. I mean, if we had the karaoke here, perhaps we could have listened to you sing. But to progress with my next question, as you've mentioned how you just stumbled into the law, being a first...
I did not stumble into law, okay. I chose law.
Right.
For many lawyers of the past, I'll have to say this also, it was a chance. Since they did not get anything else, they just got into law. In my when I was elevated in the first speech, I said that I chose law not by chance but by choice. So I never stumbled into it. Okay. I'll make it clear that law just pulled me.
It lured you. Yeah, completely.
The love affair continues till date.
Yes, we can pretty much see that, Your Lordship. But my question here is that how does one go about from starting out as a first generation lawyer, picking up all round practice in all sides of litigation before being appointed as a judge? Usually anywhere we go, it's a presumed thought that if somebody is having a good practice, they've been in a position of privilege because somebody they know has given them the opportunity to be exposed to such practice. But how did you pick up all round practice?
For a first generation lawyer, there is nothing called as choice. It's livelihood. So you cannot say, I will only take up criminal cases, I will only take civil cases, I will only take company cases. You don't have all those. The only thing is that you must not take fraud cases, that's all. So apart from that, you will have to just take whatever case comes in your way. So till I was in his office, there is nothing called as independent practice. Till 97, there is no independent practice. And after I came out, see, life is all about hope and this expectation that something will happen, or else why are we living here? What is that we are hoping? So that hope is the one which has to sort of be the summit. And that by itself is not enough, and you will have to really work through it and work really hard and consistently. So 97, when I came out for independent practice, there were many instances where I used to sit idle in the advocate association. We had something called as an advocate association. I used to sit there. For some time I was a legal consultant in a private company. Monthly salary must come, no? Somewhere the money has to come. And whatever case came on the way, I used to do it to the best possible extent. And luckily for me, I had Usha with me. So Usha she is my wife, and she also joined the same office. She is a better advocate than me. And So Usha was also practicing along with me. 97 we got married. We had a long courtship, and then 97 was the marriage. Then that's a different story. It's inter-caste marriage, problems, this, that. So she was with me. So there were two persons who were taking care of the livelihood, at least. And the only thing is that not on one occasion I fear that I may be in the streets because I will not have work, or that I'll have to get into some hanky-panky things just to survive that moment. All those things luckily did not get into my mind. As a sportsman, one thing which you always understand is that sports always teaches you how to manage failure. Sports always teaches you how you will compete and come up, without adopting any dubious methods. I think sports basically helped me a lot, even though I have not achieved anything big in sports. But there is something called as a spirit in sports. That spirit in sports had actually got into me, and so I was willing to fight. I was willing to get into it because something in me told me that you will make it. The only thing that was expected was to sustain it, to be patient, to be consistent, and so that's how it started. There was one strong point in me which many did not cultivate. I had that opportunity, which is reading journals. I've told this to so many persons always. Taking a book and reading book is a very difficult task. The size of the book will make you sleep. So it's not possible to take a book and read a book. But from 92 onwards, I started reading journals very regularly on all subjects. I did not confine it to anything. I took civil, whatever came into my hand, whatever came in the course of my practice, whatever journal came into my hands, I started reading. I became very consistent. So, which means what? 92, 2002, 2012, 2022. For more than 22 years, I've been continuously reading journals. Consistently reading journals. I have read the journal which has come till yesterday. So, this was one very strong point for me. So, whenever there was some issue in the court on anything, I'll come up with that citation. Or I'll go near that advocate and say that, sir, it is covered. So that got the attention of some advocates, some judges. They thought that this person has some sort. They never knew that I am not that brilliant and all that. I used to be very strong in that area. I know what was the updated law on that issue. So that also came in my favor. And one old man called Sundar Rajan. I should not forget names. That is why I tell you names. These are certain things which we have to keep it as a quality in ourselves till the end. We should never forget people with whom we were brought up, people who helped you at the most crucial junctures in life. Just because you reach some position does not mean that you will forget people. So Mr. Sundar Rajan was another person, a senior person who was there in the Advocate Association. For some reason, he liked my face. And also Usha. So he saw that we both were sort of not wasting our time, and we were running around. Even if I don't have a work, I used to run around court, see how people argued, how they are putting forth their points to the judge. I used to go to the city civil court. I used to see how trials are happening. So it's a passion. I was a very passion-driven person. That's exactly what I am trying to work. If you have the passion and if you have the drive to do it, then what remains is that you should be prepared to take up anything and do it. And as a first-generation lawyer, you have no other option. A specialization and all that was something which was not so prevalent at that point of time. At that point of time, if you, in terms of specialization, civil case, civil lawyer, criminal lawyer, or the maximum is company lawyer. That's all. You did not even have somebody called as an IPR lawyer. This insolvency, nothing like that. So broadly, these are the categories. That's all. Civil lawyer, criminal lawyer, Of course, that fraud lawyers are always there. That always continues. And the biggest variant is the company lawyers who used to go to company law board and all that. These are the broad categories. So if you fall into one of those offices, naturally you also tend to get into that specialization. Not out of choice, but then by pattern, by design, it happens like that. And since I did not get into some place like that, and also the fact that I was a first generation lawyer, I had to take up whatever comes in my way. And since I was reading everything, I was, as I told you, the journals which I was reading is all varied. I even used to read the company law reports at that point of time. So which means that I know something about operation mismanagement. I know, meaning if that comes, I will not be staring. I will know that I've read it somewhere, I've seen it somewhere. So this is the way it started developing. And as fate would have it, I picked up practice, and by the time I was called, in fact, many don't know, I was called when I was 43, because I used to have this white hair, even at that point of time. So 2-3 judges recommended my name, and the judge in the collegium called me. He looked at my date of birth. And then he said, okay, you leave. Then the judges who recommended me called me and said, I said, so that's how it happened. So I caught the eye of many by then, even while I was 43 or 44. So from then on, this word is going on, that this person will become a judge at any point of time. And I am telling you, this is without background, without connection, without any godfather, without anything, this was happening. So this chivalry sometimes help you. Sitting in one place and continuously looking at books will not help you as a first generation lawyer. You have to be chivalrous. So coming from North Madras, you always used to have it, because it's the sustenance in North Madras is all about fighting only. You meet different varieties of people which come from very low stratum of the society. So there are lots of advantages which others look at as disadvantage. There are advantages when you come from a place like that. So that was also one of the important factors which really took me through this particular period, because I was not born in a very rich family. I came from scratch virtually. So there was nothing much to miss here. Meaning the comfort, this, that, nothing much to miss. One very good food will be available once in a week. Your so-called sambar and one poriyal is a Sunday thing. So there is, you are used to it, the clothes which you buy once or twice a year, that's all. So when you come from a background like that, many think that it's a disadvantage. According to me, it's a big advantage. Once you come from there, whatever you gain thereafter is all plus only. You don't actually lose anything. So my journey was like this. And one consistent thing in that journey was my passion to this field, my passion to law, my passion to justice, to the rule of law, my passion for hard work. So it was a love affair, as I told you in the beginning. When you are in love, this is what you do, right? So everything will point out only to that. The flowers will look beautiful, the leaves will be fresh. Suddenly the moon will be very bright. Like that. For me, law is always beautiful, it's always fresh, it's always bright. Until date, that's the one which is really driving me to do a lot of things.
I think, sir, if I may call you sir.
Till you don't call me Dad.
I think you've been the antithesis of what one could call, privileged background person who is able to pick up to reach great heights in the legal profession. I think Sir stands as a testament to all of us at one point in time that when we don't have anything behind us to push us forward, it is us who need to take it forward. I think that is the best example that Sir can give us with his illustrious career. But every time I start the sentence, it's always Your Lordship.
Somewhere it is in our DNA.
Even before starting practice. So my question, sir, is like,
can I just roam around and answer?
Please, Your Lordship. Please, Your Lordship.
You are arresting me by making me sit in a place, and that's what I do daily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question, sir, is that you've picked up all-round practice. You established yourself within the legal profession as a lawyer. But what persuaded you to take up judgeship? Is there something that you think that persuaded you to take up judgeship?
It's an important question because many get desperate to become a judge and then suffer after becoming a judge. For me, it's an evolution process. Since you start from the scratch, at every stage you evolve to a particular level. And by the time I was 44, which means 93 was my enrollment. By the time it was 2010, something near the 2012, the recognition was more in the court. And I had many issues with the sitting judges. The sense that I didn't like certain things which they were doing. I didn't like some of their attitudes. Sometimes the corruption part of it. But I know that there is a lot you can do to the society at large. You can do much more than what you do as an advocate. So, in the process of that evolution, I did sort of develop an interest or develop a desire to take up judgeship. Insofar as high court judges are concerned, there is nothing called as entrance exam. If that was there, I would not have become a judge. So luckily there is no examination for high court judges. So it's a collegium, as you know. Before the Judges 2 case, it used to be with the concurrence, and now everything is decided by the collegium. That's a different subject altogether. But what I'm saying is that that's the way it happens. So by 2014, there are certain voices which started telling me that why don't you take up judgeship? Why don't you get? I was perplexed because why don't you take judgeship? I didn't know why don't you take judgeship? It's not some applying. It's not. You don't apply to become a high court judge, and that is not the process. And it's not an employment at all in the first case. So, 2000, since they started talking with me, something in me said that why not? But you cannot go and ask that I want to become a judge. Please make me a judge. And it's not as if I was not picking up. My practice was peaking. I was engaged right, left, and center, and I used to run. Even recently, I said that I used to carry 2 bags, like the 36th chamber of Shaolin. I used to carry 2 bags full of bundles and run around courts. One case in the criminal court, one case in the civil court, this, that. Money was pouring. So it was not as if I was desperate and I didn't have anything else, therefore I took up judgeship. It was peaking, and I know that what I was earning and what I am going to get as a judge will have absolutely no comparison at all. So this from 2014 onwards, I know that at some stage I'll have to take it up if I am called. That's the thing. As you know, the disadvantage of coming from a particular community was there. Since I am a North Madras fellow, my Tamil is Romba local Tamil. So that was one more thing which was to my advantage. Nobody knew that I came from that particular community. Nobody knew. And at the time of elevation, willy-nilly they will see from which community you are coming, just to ensure that representations are given to all the communities. Then the disappointment started. The community, I said, unfortunately, yes. Because I got rid of that identity in 90 itself. I just took off this Poonal thing in 90 itself. I was a rebel right through. So those things never got into my head. In fact, that was acting against me for some time. Then I thought, oh, this is a factor. So it was dragging. They wanted to somehow push my name, but they didn't want some opposition to come on the ground that persons from this community's representation is more. So that was going on. And then eventually in 2016 it was all cleared. Because of some other reason it was getting dragged until 2018. But I was very clear at that point of time when Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul called me and said that, are you interested? I said, why not? So it's like, I was expecting and it was coming. So that man saw some spark in me. If not for him, there is no way I could have become a judge. There is no way I could be addressing you like this. He saw that I have something in me. I do not know how he saw it. I used to appear before him, argue, keep running, this, that. But he saw some spark in me. Something told him that yes, this person must be identified and elevated as a judge. So the level up to which I was happy as an advocate, I am doubly happy now as a judge. If judgeship is something for which I am destined, my friend used to say that you are born to perform your job as a judge. Looking at what I am doing and all that, looks like yes. Unless you really enjoy your judgeship, unless you know that you can do a lot to the society, you can contribute a lot to the institution, to the community. Judgeship is something which you have to consciously sit and decide and then take it up. Because it can go terribly wrong. It can really go terribly wrong. For some people in terms of corruption, for some people in terms of their upward movement. Meaning they will not do their job before them. They will always be thinking, I will become a CJ, I will become a Supreme Court judge, I will become a CJI. That calculation will go on. If that calculation goes on to that extent, your independence also goes. Because when you write a judgment or an order, by writing this, we have a problem there. So that's another thing which afflicts people who are taking up positions. There are persons for whom the power will get into their head. That's the major challenge as a judge. The power, when it gets into your mind, it can really make you sort of mad. And it can take you off from who you were before you were made as a judge. So power is a big problem, and that has to be encountered till the end, because you have so much of power. It's like electricity. Unless and otherwise you are able to manage electricity, you die. Right? If you are able to manage electricity, you can have lights switched on, the air condition switched on, the thing which it can be recorded. All that is happening through it. But if you are going to go and touch that raw electricity, you are finished. Same is with the power. Power also can really get into your mind and sort of confuse you. So that's the third thing which you have to keep in mind before you take up the position. And the fourth one is that you will have to stay physically fit. Because your position, you are continuous sitting in a particular place and getting negative things always, right? At any point of time, you can only make one party happy. The losing party is in any case going to go unhappy. He is not going to he is going to have a grievance. So you are dealing with problems, and that negative vibe is always there. That has an impact on you. So for some people, they become very conditioned because of that. For them, the the bodily things started affecting them. The back pain, obesity, etc. etc. So that's another thing which can really come in your way. And for some people, they would have earned tons of money. Comparatively, what you will be earning is a monthly salary. And according to me, that is more than enough. We have taken care so well, is my opinion. This is more than enough. There is no need for anything more than this, what I am earning. But that may not be enough in terms of the number, you know. The number is, you don't know which number is going to satisfy you. So that number problem will come. After some time, they will find that there are some advocates appearing in 4 cases on a day. 4 cases, no, 1 case, number 4, 4 they are getting only this. Some foolish things will start entering into your brain. So I think that the judgeship, if you want to take it up, you must be clear about a lot of things. Once you get that clarity, then you can excel. You can just take off like that.
I think that can be a guideline for us also. If per chance, sometime in the future, if you're offered, think these are the things that you need to calculate and compute before you decide to take up judgeship. But Your Lordship, as you mentioned, Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul was an instrumental figure in you becoming a judge. So, is there anybody else any one person who you would count as an inspiration?
Justice Nagamuthu, Justice P.N. Prakash. They were also the driving force for me, because Justice Nagamuthu, who is now the practicing senior advocate in the Supreme Court, when I enter the court, he'll be sitting in when I enter the court, he'll say, "Come, you are the amicus curiae in this case." He used to like me so much for some reason that somehow his eye will catch me. Whenever I enter the court, everybody will know that. And see, the problem is, once that starts happening, people will approach you and start giving you cases to appear before that bench. It's a very tricky thing. You will get into all sorts of areas where people will try to use you for their own purpose. What he liked about me was that I did not appear before him just because I was regularly called as a amicus curiae. I did not misuse it. Whatever case came to me, I just argued. People will engage you. Seniors will engage you. Insulting. So Justice Nagamuthu was somebody who was also a big driving force for me, because எனக்கு இந்த மைக் பிடிச்சி பேசுறதுலாம் பண்ணினதே கிடையாது. Never. So he was the one who said that, why don't you come and teach in the Judicial Academy for the judicial officers? Since you are very interested in these academics and all that, why don't... So he was the one who got me there, got me into the Judicial Academy, where I would address a gathering. Meaning, addressing a gathering, initially I will not be able to come up with any word at all. So that got into me, and thanks to him that I got the confidence to address a gathering, to put forth my views, to put forth my views on certain legal things. So Nagamuthu was a big driving force. Justice P.N. Prakash was another driving force, because I found him to be a person who was so thorough in criminal law. I have not seen somebody as thorough as Justice P.N. Meaning his fundamentals are so strong, and you will find that it flows out of him. And he is a person who will be very simple, absolutely simple person. No airs about what he is doing. He will not allow somebody to carry his box and all that. He will just keep moving around. So he was a person who was a big inspiration for me, and he is also somebody, and both of them were also instrumental in sort of talking with the Chief Justice to consider my name for elevation. And these are 2 other judges who really inspired me a lot.
Yes, Your Lordship. And now that you've told us your journey from starting as a student and then a lawyer and then becoming judge, some of us at the Law University, we had the opportunity to observe your proceedings in the court. And we have found it rather surprising to see that you were handing out citations to the lawyers, which is somewhere which no other court, no other judge would take the patience to tell that to the lawyer. How is it? How did that come to be? I mean, you told us that you read a lot of journals and you were able to pick up this thing, but what made you help that lawyer in that particular situation?
As a junior advocate, you would have faced some disadvantages. At which point of time you would have felt that this judge should not have treated me like this, or this judge should have done something like this, or he should have given me some chance to argue a case. He should not have shunned me like that. So you carry such impressions with you, and when you get into that position, you should not be. This is like Mamiyar Marumugal problem. Why is it that every Mamiyar is having a problem with Marumugal? Because as a Marumagal they underwent a problem, and they are putting it against the Marumagal who is coming into their house. It's a cycle. If you look at the psychology, that's how it happens. Same way, people who have been oppressed, people who have been insulted, when they get into a position, they tend to do it. That's like taking revenge, or your mind is getting so sort of fulfilled once you do that, because it's a psychological thing. It's very psychological. So, if you are a person who thinks and acts, you will try to reverse that process, and you will ensure that let me not put them to the same problems which I faced as a junior. And whatever I felt should have been done by that judge when I was a junior, why don't I do it? I thought the minimum that is required for a judge is not to terrorize a junior and throw him out of the door. That's the most easiest thing to do. That's the easiest thing you can do, is to terrorize, because he cannot open his mouth against you. So if you turn it otherwise, if you make it more convenient, easier for him to appear before you, then that brings a lot of confidence in that junior. So it will make it more easier for him to get that confidence not only before this court, to continue in the profession itself. So if you are able to be a source of that inspiration, which is possible as a judge, I thought, why not? So as a junior, when you come into the court, it's like sea. You don't understand anything. What you read in the colleges and what happens in the court, for both to get into a meeting point, the theory and the practical things which happens in a court, which you are never exposed in a college, it has a reaching point. That reaching point takes some time. Till then, what you read, what you were talking in a moot court will not work in a regular court. Till that point of time, somebody has to handhold you and take you. What is my strong point? My strong point is the case law area. And my strong point is to address them in the simplest possible way. Make them convenient. So I am able to do it. How do I make them come and argue the case again? Give them all the props. Make them get prepared with whatever it is. The next day when they come, or the next hearing when they come as a different person altogether. They come with the citation, they come with the book, they put notes, everything. They start arguing. So that particular thing which takes 5 minutes extra, considering the number, it's impossible to do it continuously, but I made it a practice to at least do it with 2 juniors a day. Every day 2 juniors I will do it. Something I will drag and I will do it. For 2 juniors I will keep doing it. So this, I thought, is a better way of equipping them, to make them read the law and come, and at the same time to develop that confidence in them, and also a sort of hope that, yeah, I will also be able to thrive in this profession. I will also be able to make something good in this profession. So I found that this is a method which works well. There are some seniors who would say that case la ange inge varuvedi sir inge anga povudunu enge enga pona enna. At the end of the day, institution is more important for me. So I keep doing all these things.
Please take note of that. I think if you want to excel, if you want to have more opportunities to argue, I think we should appear before His Lordship. Court number 51, I think. Is it changed, Your Lordship? Or is it?
Now I think it is 46.
46, okay. When I went, it was 51. Your Lordship, now you've served as a judge for 6 years. And as a lawyer for 25 years, of course. Has there been any, I'm pretty sure you would have some case or the other that has left a deep impression on you, as a judge or a lawyer, whatever. If you could share something about that.
On the completion of the 5th year, so I was elevated on 3rd June 2018. So I wrote to Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaur that a toddler is now attempting to get up and walk. And he wrote me back saying that it has already started running. So my experience in the bench, even now I consider it to be very, very limited experience only. The reason is this. The reason is that normally in a bench, that's a journey by itself. You may be very knowledgeable in law. You may know a lot of things. But the experience which you get by sitting with a senior judge who has had some experience in him, I didn't have the advantage of that. So it's like I'm a raw person. So I sat with Justice M. Sundaresh for hardly 1.5 months. Now the judge of the Supreme Court. But he was so nice to me that day 1 onwards, he looks very young. And with my white hair, many people who came to the court without knowing who I am thought that I am the senior judge in the court. Continuous domination in court, continuous speaking with advocates. The lawyer in me makes me very talkative. As a judge, I don't sit silent at all. Sometimes I argue more than the lawyer himself. Sometimes I call the juniors and make them judges. I do all these things in court. I tell the junior that now you are the judge. I am the lawyer. Please hear my submissions and tell me whether you are convinced with it. So I'll say, my lord. The junior will get sort of very uncomfortable with all these things. But I make it a point to do that. So, these 6 years, since I was not sitting in a bench too often, or when I sat in a bench, I was sitting with judges who gave me so much of freedom that they said, you just take care. That's the way they handled me, in a way. So, since that happened, I was getting into some very important areas even at the beginning. By 1.5 months, I got into this 482 portfolio at Madurai. So, you tend to get some important cases in certain portfolios. It does not happen in all portfolios. It happens in certain portfolios where you tend to get matters of public importance, matters of political importance, concerning institutions. So this advantage I got right in the beginning itself, in 1.5 months. June I got elevated, July, August I went to the Madurai bench. I was given an independent portfolio which never happens for a new judge, but somehow they gave it. And with my enthusiasm, I used to sit in court till 7:30 daily. So that's something which shocked everybody. So some people thought that the புது புஸ்தகம் நம்ம ஸ்கூல் திறக்கும்போது இந்த புது புக்கெல்லாம் வரும்ல for 2 days ஐன்ஸ்டைன் லெவலில் இருப்போம். அதுக்கு அப்புறம் அந்த புக்கு பக்கத்துலேயே போக மாட்டோம். அது பேர் அந்த புது புத்தகம் சின்ரோம் பேர். ஸோ பீப்புள் தாட் தட் சரி புதுசாக வந்துருக்கான் N2 இருக்கான் போல இருக்குன்னு. பட் அந்த N2 கண்டினியூ ஆகிட்டே இருந்தது. 7:37 இப்படியே ஓடிட்டே இருந்தது. Since I was doing that much of work, naturally I was dealing with some very important issues also. So I will pick up cases like that and focus on that. My number of disposal will be very large. At the same time, I also know which cases I will have to spend more time in settling the law, in coming up with new things and all. So I had an opportunity for a lot of things. One such opportunity was the Sushma case, where I underwent a counseling and all. Meaning, whatever I do will all be unorthodox. The way I address people, the way I approach courts, the way I address people, the way in which I deal with cases, everything will be unorthodox. People who are sticklers to that perfection will find me very inconvenient, very difficult to handle me. Probably in private they must be abusing me. I know that. But then I am what I am. By doing this, I am not spoiling an institution. By doing this, I am not bringing any, I am not defaming the institution. By doing this, I am only trying to enhance the stature of this institution someday. So I would say Sushma gave me a good opportunity to bring the human being within me by removing the cap of a judge. So that's one judgment which I will not forget till the last breath. Because that's very unusual of a judge to undergo a counseling and then write those counseling observations in the order. Meaning the observations in the counseling which are very inconvenient, I ensured that all that formed the part of the order. So if you again go and read that order, you will find how bad my mind was. I thought that the evolution has to take place. Then so many things came in my way. That's the one thing. And this one important case in the criminal law is the Gokul Raj case, which is a honor killing case. Again, the way it has to be dealt with, meaning many cases. The temple priest, where I said that caste cannot play a role in. Many are very confused with me. I go with this Vibhuti Patta, but most of the things I do is like a leftist, like a atheist. Meaning I make myself so neutral that it will become highly unpredictable. You will not know where. Many times I will say that if temples are the sources for violence, close down temples. And who is saying it? A person with Vibhuti Patta with is saying it. So, and I will tell the advocate, don't get misled with this. This is something very personal between me and Vibhuti Patta. Don't get confused with this. Don't think that just because I am wearing all these things, I'll act in a particular way. That prediction will be wrong. So for me, every other case brings satisfaction to me. It's not as if A case, B case or C case, because if that is the case, to be politically corrected, you will start choosing cases and projecting your name. Correct. You must never get into that habit. I hate being politically correct. Being politically correct is the most dangerous thing to happen, because internally that person will be somebody else. And the public will be thinking that he is the paragon of virtues. Because every time when he comes out, he will be politically correct. His statements will be correct. He will be choosing occasions to make such statements. He will be choosing cases to make such statements. And then today with the social media, with the amount of spread that happens in the society, you will get into a particular mode of opinion. People, if you go and talk with people near him, they will say, "Ayokya." So the best way to understand a person is to go to people near him and talk with him. His own stenos, those are the nearest people. His own car driver, his own personal security officers, his own staff members, they will know who that person is. And that is the correct opinion also. Because you cannot just abuse, use all sorts of tantrums against them and then come out and be a pleasant person, projecting yourself this and that. Then you are bordering a psychopath actually. I do not know how many saw Indira Mukherjee's documentary in Netflix. Did anybody see it?
Yes.
Saw it?
Yes.
I did not get sleep that night. The amount of intelligence, the way in which she expresses herself, it was almost bordering psychopaths, because psychopaths don't get tensed at all. They just clinically execute it so perfectly that since they don't have the tension, they don't have that anxiety, they clinically execute it. That's exactly what happens to some people in power also. They will be able to clinically do it by just smiling. Cinema எல்லாம் காமிக்கிறாங்க பாருங்க. தென்னாருடைய சிவனை போற்றின் அந்த நாசர் ஒரு படத்துல சொல்ற மாதிரி he will be doing all sorts of hanky-panky things, but outside he will have this Rudraksha Kotta with him. So there are some people like that moving around in our amidst also. So this position as a judge, what satisfies you, which case satisfies you, all that is secondary. At the end of your tenure, after 10 years after your tenure, after 25 years after your tenure, if somebody says that this man performed well, this man had an impact on the institution, it's not about writing some fantastic judgments that anybody will do. Now ChatGPT will do it. No problem at all. What impact did you leave with the institution? I am more concerned about that than Sushma, than Yuvraj case, X, Y, Z. If I put that into my head, the brain is so tricky that it will put you into a pattern. So, every portfolio is important, every bundle is important, every case is important, institution is important, the members of the institution, both the bar and bench is important, the students who are aspiring to get into the institution are very, very important. If you are able to make an impact on all of them, not during your tenure, after your tenure, because today you do not know why people are calling you, why people are bending backwards. It's because of the post. I'll give you a simple example. The policeman, when my car goes through that place, I live in Besant Nagar only. I did not get into this bungalow. So I live in Besant Nagar. So when my car comes, everybody will be saluting and all that. So one day what I did was, since I got back to my home early, generally I am in shorts only. So I started walking, cycling, and one police stops. Listen, sir. Oh my God. I thought, if you want a salute lads. That is exactly this position. Today people will hear you, will organize you, they will say all sorts of things because you are holding a position. When you lose that position, or when you get out of that position, and thereafter what will they talk about? Thereafter what will they say about this person, the institution? Institution is a lot of other things. What is that they will say? For me, that is much more important than my important judgments and all that. And one thing which I should never do is that I should not be saying, I rendered this judgment, I rendered that judgment. I mean, that's arrogance. That's somebody will say that with all humility under my control. Humility is I'm very humble in Sudan. I'm very humble, you are the most arrogant person. So, I am not concerned about this judgment and all that. Whatever comes in my way, I will keep writing. I will make the society think. I will make people think. I will make people debate about what I am writing. So sometimes you will find it controversial. It's not controversial. You are making people think. There must be evolution in everything, Everything must evolve. Everything, the society evolves, the youngsters' attitude evolves, the culture evolves. Everything undergoes the change. So for me, my orders and my judgments must go in line with this. That's why I wrote last week that consuming alcohol per se is not an offense. Everybody is consuming. I said whether that alcohol has really made you, has really taken you out of control is the issue. Who is determining that? I said state is providing you with alcohol, and they are the only providers of alcohol. So if they are the only providers of the alcohol, they will have to also be, they are duty bound to take care of the consequences of the alcohol also. What is one biggest challenge? The biggest challenge is drunken driving. So for some people, the driving will be very correct only if they are drunk. Only if they are in that state, they will drive perfectly. If you leave them normally, 100% there will be an accident. There are people like that. So it all depends on what is going to be the... So if you are going to interpret laws, you have to take into consideration the fact that liquor is available freely, sir. Now, it's very normal for people to consume liquor. It can be regular consuming, it can be on a weekend, it can be on some occasion. What's the big deal? You don't keep consuming it and then say, who is to pay what number? The fellow consumes daily. And you immediately find a chance to abuse another person. This is reality. I am just giving you an example. So that the example is that you know that it is easily available today. If it's easily available today, that's one easy way of trying to come out of your mind and be free, feel free. That is so. It has its own consequences. How far is that consequence? When are you said to be a person who is out of control? Just because you are smelling alcohol doesn't mean that you are out of control. What is that level? Nobody knows. So I said, per se drinking alcohol is not an offense. Just because somebody smells alcohol, it does not mean that he is out of control. Therefore, I gave the full compensation. No, people may say, no, next என்ன வரும் இவன் குடிகாரனை போய் இப்படி பண்ற சொல்றவன் குடிகாரன். But you will have to make இப்போ society-ல it is available, it's happening. How do you handle it? Foreign countries are available. See the way they handle it. They are very tough in that. Absolutely tough. Once you are caught into that, it's a huge problem in the foreign countries. How do they do it? There is in some of the European countries there are called as something called as booze buses. Booze buses. So people who get into that booze, they are carried in buses specially parked for them. It drops them in various places. So there is no problem in that. They never drink and drive. Very, very rarely they drink and drive. Which means what? There is a system in place. Here, what is the system in place? Booze is easily available. Many are consuming. What is the system available? What is the system available? You law போட்டு அவனை யோசிக்க வச்சாதானே பண்ண முடியும். So I try to do all these things. For me, every other case, every other issue is evolution process where I make the system think. I make the system think and see if some changes can be brought in. As an advocate, every other case was my livelihood. So, did you make change in the life of others? Absolutely. Absolutely. When somebody with their family comes with that sweet dabba, padam, typically you will find some traditional people come, sir, I'm telling you, dopamine is extreme. You will feel so proud of what you are doing. So many occasions it has happened. One old fellow farmer coming and saying that, sir, the land another small land, that's all. So many occasions it has happened.
Thank you, Lordship. I think that sheds light on how candid His Lordship. I think that is something that we need in our judiciary as well. We need somebody who can break the existing social notions and have innovative ways of rendering justice. And as Lordship had mentioned, Shushma versus Commissioner of Police, which is a very landmark case. I mean, for the benefit of the audience, I think you should know how it was, as Lordship had said, it was unconventional for a judge. Nowhere in history has a judge undergone psychoeducative counseling to sit before a court in judgment for a case which, he actively took participation and actively understood the matter, changed his perception of the condition, and banned fittingly the conversion therapy, and which of course made ripples across our country and also worldwide. I think if I were to quote one line from that judgment, Your Lordship, you stated, ignorance is no justification to normalize any form of discrimination, which is simply put a clear enunciation of John Rawls' theory of justice. I don't know if it was intentional or non-intentional, but it is a very stellar judgment, and I would recommend all of you here, law students, to go and take a look at it. I think it'll give you an idea as to how we can use the institution of the high courts as a means of transforming the law, and one could also say transformative constitutionalism, which is something which His Lordship had adopted in this particular case. Okay, Lordship, coming to some other candid questions. Have you ever used ChatGPT?
No, I'm very bad with this technology.
Yet you have an iPad whenever you.
So the iPad is that I know from the beginning that that WPS thing, I create files in that CPC, CRPC, NDPS, Evidence Act, Civil Evidence Act, Criminal. I have so many headings in that. So I keep typing manually.
Right.
I manually type it, and so if somebody is to steal it, they will not understand anything in that. Only I will know how to get into that. And earlier I used to physically write it in a notebook. Now I type it. I read, I manually type it and keep it there. Therefore, I know exactly where it is. So I'm very bad in this new system, and sometimes I get very irritated when somebody screams from this screen. But I was the highest disposal person during the pandemic period. Somehow I got used to it. Again, it's passion only. Nowadays, I'm getting irritated. Nowadays, I would prefer somebody to be physically present than somebody screaming from the screen, because they don't allow me to talk. The worst thing that you can do for me is to stop me talking. As a judge, you must allow me to talk. I'm a very talkative judge. And I will not compromise on that. So, the best thing to handle me is to just allow me to talk and understand my mind and then address. So, what happens is that somebody from the screen continuously keeps screaming at me. I find that as a bit, irritable. But ChatGPT, I know there is something called as ChatGPT, because I am very bad in all that. I consciously did not get into it. See, I had this fear of science right from the beginning. எவ்வளோ பேடுன்னா ஒரு வாட்டி கெமிஸ்ட்ரியில் அந்த டியூபெல்லாம் போட்டு அந்த கனெக்ஷன்லாம் போட்டு அது அந்த டயக்ராம் வரையணும்ல, ஃப்ரம் ஹியர் அந்த HMNO4 அதெல்லாம் போகும். நான் ஒரு டியூப் வந்து இடம் பத்தலைன்னு சொல்லி கண்டினியூட் இந்த நெக்ஸ்ட் பேஜ்லாம் போட்டேன். That day the chemistry is taught the horror. I mean, where are you coming from? The same thing happened when they asked me to draw the brain. But inchi ma edo varanju kodutanga. So it is though science but surprisingly, my friend, neuroscience is one area which really that's one area where I keep continuously hearing and reading. So science that neuroscience works well for me.
Right, Lordship. And another question, like you've delivered, of course, a plethora of judgments. Have you ever second-guessed any judgment? Have you ever felt that you've delivered a wrong verdict somewhere?
On Friday, I'm going to deliver a speech on a criticism of a judgment rendered by me in a particular case. Friday, they have arranged for that talk, where I'm going to tear my judgment to pieces, to shreds. So, good that you asked that question. Friday, the Madras Bar Association, they wanted me to address on some subject. So I said that the title I immediately gave was a judge who wants to criticize his own judgment in the matter of so and so. That's the title. And I have prepared myself so well that Justice Anand Venkatesh is going to get torn off on that day by Anand Venkatesh as a student of law. So there is nothing called as perfection in anything. Nothing called as perfection. Even for a Sachin Tendulkar, a prodigy of that stature, to get into perfection, the person used to practice with a stump, a particular drive or a particular stroke for hours together. And that's how you can bring your quality, you can enhance your qualities. If you think that whatever I am writing is correct, whatever I am saying is correct, you are rusted, you are finished. There is no scope for any evolvement at all. And as you mature as a judge, your thought process, sometimes you will find that இவ்வளோ ரூடாக நம்ம எழுதிருக்கூடாதோ, இவ்வளோ பெருசாக நம்ம எழுதிருக்கூடாதோ ஜட்மெண்ட்டை சாதாரணமாக பண்ணிருக்கலாமே, ஏன் இது போய் 45 பேஜ் எழுதினோம். So I keep doing all this. I am a big critic of many of my judgments. There is no doubt at all.
I wish this attitude was there in many other judges who are currently serving.
For that to happen, you must have confidence in yourself. If you do not have the confidence in yourself and you have these complexities, then the way to counter those complexities is to scream at others, to sort of put down another person, show your bravado to ordinary officials, and then nod your head in an area which you don't know at all, as if you understood everything. You know nothing out of it. So, if you must have the confidence in yourself to criticize yourself.
I think that's a very interesting and intriguing idea that we get. A lot of things we're learning every single sentence you make, Your Lordship. But now I think I'd like to move on to some other topics. I don't know if you'll be free to talk about it.
I will be free to talk anything.
Okay. Because we were going to, I was having this idea that there's something called the Chatham House Rule. So when I raise my hand and say Chatham House Rule, anything that you say will not leave this room.
Okay.
But only thing is, Mohandas is taking a video of what is
The
happening.
last thing I encounter nowadays is fear. I become so fearless that it's actually helping me in my evolution process. Of course, there are certain things, considering the position that you hold, you should not say or you should not utter, not because it is against you, because it may have an impact on the institution per se. So the test is this. The test is that will that answer have a very bad impact on the institution? Criticism on an institution is different. But sitting inside the institution and throwing mud at the institution is the worst thing you can ever do. You should never sit in a place which is your livelihood, which is the one which you give, which gives you recognition, and then start throwing mud at that. That's a very bad attitude. You should get out of it and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So to that extent, I have no problem.
Right, Your Lordship. I think we can move ahead with that. So, just generally about judiciary and Indian democracy. So, among the three organs of state, I mean, people retain a strong amount of trust upon the judiciary in comparison to the executive and the legislature, because it is something that guards the constitution, upholds civil liberties, protects the rule of law, etc. Being an advanced democracy, as many nations call us now, when it comes to the rule of law, according to the recent World Justice Report, we rank 77 out of 142. In your opinion, what exactly, why do we rank at that level? Could you please enunciate?
Firstly, we are not a mature democracy in India. The fact that not even 50% of the population votes during election shows how bad we are. So it becomes very easy for the incumbent, because in any case they have a definite 30-35% with them. So when does the change come? It's not A party, B party or a C party. When does change come? The change comes only when people react. Only when people react in an overwhelming manner. There is no use in doing your armchair opinions. WhatsApp, this and criticizing. Why did you not vote? It was very hot. Look at the reasons that they are giving. It was a weekend. So we went on a long weekend. It was very hot, terribly hot. என்னுடைய ஒரு ஓட்டுனால என்ன ஆயிட போகுது? These are all reasons they give. Tomorrow when there is some increase in rate, they write one-page article, half-a-page article. And now social media is there. They abuse. Did you vote? That I will not. So, if you ask me whether it's a mature democracy, absolutely no. Absolutely no. See, India has been ruled by others for nearly 1,000 years. These fundamentals we must understand before we take the next step. And India used to be a very wealthy country at one point of time, and by the time we got the independence, meaning we were at the lowest ebb. So there was starvation everywhere. So there are two DNAs which have got into us. One is the psychophancy gene. Other is the starvation gene. It's so predominant in us. We will not show it outside. But when the occasion comes, it pops up. ஃப்ரீயாக ஒரு டிவி தரேன்னு சொல்லி பாருங்க, 1000 rupees தரேன்னு சொல்லி பாருங்க. அந்த க்ரௌடில் நிற்கிற நிறைய பேர் நல்ல வசதியாக நல்லா நிற்பான். அவனுக்கு ஃப்ரீயாக எதையும் தரக்கூடாது. ஃப்ரீயாக கொடுத்து அவன்கிட்ட போய் கேளுங்க, அப்போ எந்த வேற யாரும் வாங்கிட்டாங்கன்னா அவ்வளோ கன்சர்ன் ஆகுது. ஃப்ரீயாக டிவியை வாங்கி shamelessly they were selling it to outsiders. Did this happen? So the political masters know that we are afflicted with this gene. அவங்களுக்கு தெரியும், நீங்க எவ்வளவு தான் பேசினாலும் கடைசியில they will come around this, and they know which population is going to vote for them. இங்கிலீஷ்ல எழுதுறது, இதை கம்பேர் பண்ணுறது, அந்த பர்சன்டேஜை போடுறது, வாட்ஸ்அப்பில் போடுறது, அவங்களுக்கு எல்லாரும் அவங்களாம் படிக்காதவங்களாம் இருக்கலாம். பட் தே நோ த ரியாலிட்டி. தே எக்ஸாக்ட்லி நோ ஹவு திஸ் ஃபங்க்ஷன்ஸ். பீயிங் அ பொலிட்டீஷியன் இஸ் அ வெரி வெரி டஃப் டாஸ்க். நம்ம வெளியிலேருந்து பயங்கரமாக கிரிட்டிசைஸ் பண்ணுறோம், பட் கோ அண்ட் ஹோல்ட் தட் பொசிஷன். முதல்வன் ஒரு படத்தில் தட்ஸ் எக்ஸாக்ட்லி வாட் ஹி வில் சே, அர்ஜுன் ஹோல்ட் தி பொசிஷன் ஆஃப் அ சீஃப் மினிஸ்டர் ஃபார் 2 days அண்ட் டெல் மீன்னு சொல்லுவார். தட்ஸ் த ட்ரூத். நிம்மதியாகவே இருக்க முடியாது. Somebody will be coming, some phone call will be coming, some problem in the state will be coming. எதுவும் நடந்துகிட்டே இருக்கும். So the politicians exactly know that we have this in us, so they are able to manipulate us. And now added to that, religion is gathering momentum. Religion is gathering momentum today. Whether we like it, we don't like it, religion today is gathering momentum. Once religion in this country gathers momentum, majoritarianism will automatically come. Naturally, because a majority of the persons belong to a particular religion. So the consequence of religion gathering momentum is that majoritarianism automatically comes. Once majoritarianism comes, the consequences of those majoritarianism automatically follows through. In minority, you be in your place. If you want to continue here, adjust with us and go. இதெல்லாம் வந்து ஒரு இட்ஸ் லைக் ஒரு ஹெட்ரோ பர்சனுக்கும் ஒரு பர்சன் பிலாங் டு கம்யூனிட்டிக்கும் ஏன் நம்ம எல்ஜிபிடி கம்யூனிட்டி இருக்கிறவங்களை டிஸ்கிரிமினேட் பண்ணலாம்? Why is it that it is very easy for us to do it? Because the majority don't fall under the group. It's a small minuscule percentage where nature thought that it should design that person in a particular way. It has not designed that person in a way in which others are designed. So therefore, what does this majority think? இதெல்லாம் ஹோப்ஸ், இதெல்லாம் இவனா கற்பனை பண்ணிக்கிறான். அந்த மாதிரிலாம் சேம் செக்ஸ்லாம் வந்து அட்ராக்ஷன் இருக்கவே முடியாது. ஏன்னா உனக்கு இல்லை. Just because you don't have it, don't come to a conclusion that it's impossible in nature. Nature vests everybody differently. Nature அந்த மாதிரிலாம் டிஸ்கிரிமினேஷன்லாம் கிடையாது. And how foolish it is. Why would somebody put themselves in a position like that when they know that they are going to be discriminated? You know, how false is that argument? So nobody wants to put themselves in a place where they know I will be discriminated, I will be finished off by the society, but I enjoy being there. அப்படி இருக்க முடியுமா? அது மாதிரி majoritarianism is gathering momentum. But according to me, we are a very young democracy. Just 75 years is nothing in a democracy. Many thought that India per se may not survive at all. Because at the time when India was brought in, it was princely states which were all gathered, with whom treaties were all made. They were all pulled together and brought in as one country. A culture was there, but there was nothing called as India per se as we understand it today. So comparatively, we are a very young democratic country. Education has just moved up. Opportunity to women has just started. So initially during the constitutional debates itself, the constitutional makers had a very big debate on this voting thing. Many thought that you must have some qualification. But adult franchise was made Meaning it is a very, very daring decision which they took, considering the type of population that exists in this country. And you don't have a qualification for somebody to be a chief minister, to hold the post of a minister, to be a prime minister even. What is the big qualification? He must be an Indian. He must not have a criminal case. No problem at all. You don't have a qualification. So, look at how it is functioning. There is an unqualified lot there who are ruling the country, and the people who are assisting them are the biggest level of brains, which is the IAS officers. They don't take decisions, they implement. System எப்படி இருக்குன்றதை நீங்க யோசிச்சீங்கன்னா why we are undergoing this ன்னு தெரியும். So you have people holding the positions of the highest level who are all unqualified mostly. BSc, BA பத்தி பேசணும். Everything has a particular qualification. To become a judge, you need this qualification. To become a prime minister, no qualification. To become a chief minister, no qualification. To become a minister, no qualification. You can be a revenue minister without even knowing the spelling of revenue. And who is the person who is reporting to them? The person who is reporting to them is one of the best brains in India. To clear IAS is enormous. I cannot clear IAS or not. In my confessions, I put it there continuously. And I don't care about it also. So when I call an IAS officer to court, when I call an IAS officer in the screen to question him, I carry that much of responsibility in me because I know that the position that he is holding is a big position. Why do I do it? Because of the respect. I know that the position that he is holding is a very high position and he is not some ordinary person. He is a person of good intellectual capabilities. He is a person who is capable of handling things. Is that the way politicians are handling IAS officers? So, when the system goes like that, for this party, this bunch of IAS officers, this party comes, this IAS officers goes, next bunch of IAS officers. For this party, this set of police officers, IPS officers. When the other party comes, no, these police officers belong to that party. And for this political, this party. Politicians have manipulated it to such a level that today there is nothing called as independent executive. The Constitution talks about 3 functions, which is the legislation where law is made, the executive are the ones who execute laws, and the judiciary which interprets laws and ensures that everything is coming within the rule of law. All of them, 3 functions. These are not 3 powers. These are 3 functions which are performed by different bodies. Today you don't have an independent executive for the reasons which I said. If executive is so neutral, why is it that you are having a set of police officers for this party, a set of police officers for that party? This police officer is the set of the DGP is the set of. How did you say that? So that is the position there. So executive, politicians, etc. there is no independence at all. Reality அதான் ரொம்ப கசக்கும் அது சொல்றதுக்கு ஒரு மாதிரி தான் இருக்கும். ஆனா ரியாலிட்டி சில டைம் கசக்கும் அப்படினா. ரியாலிட்டி அப்படியே இனிப்பா இருக்காது. ரியாலிட்டி கசக்கும். அசிங்கமா தான் இருக்கும் ரியாலிட்டி. இது ரியாலிட்டி. Then let us get into judicial. The people who got in, the people, most of the freedom fighters, most of those who struggled, most of those persons who fought for the liberty of others were all advocates. நீங்க மகாத்மா காந்தியில இருந்து பட்டேல்ல இருந்து இதுல இருந்து அதுல இருந்து ஒரு பெரிய ஜோக்கே இருக்கு. ஒருத்தர் அட்வொகேட் ஆனாராம். அட்வொகேட் ஆனவொடனே if you are a successful advocate you can be Sardar Patel, if you are not successful you can be Jawaharlal Nehru நாராம். So meaning you can become a prime minister. So advocates were dominating the field. எங்க பார்த்தாலும் advocates தான். Because they were the ones who know, who have the knowledge of what those rights are available. Slow அது என்ன ஆயிடுச்சு? அதிலையும் politics போனுச்சு. Now you have X party advocates, Y party advocates, Z party advocates, Advocate General, Attorney General, all those things used to be an independent position. Please tell me today whether anybody can function independently like that. You are a spokesperson of the government. You are a spokesperson of the government. If you are not able to be a spokesperson of the government, there is no way you can hold that position. If you are not a party person, if you are not a person holding the party ticket, the party card, you cannot hold any of the position of the government advocate etc. It means what? It means that to a large extent, politics has got into this profession also. For many reasons, people want to be like that. I have no problem in somebody being a part of a political party. But the line must be that when you come into the court, you no longer you are a party person. You are an advocate. You are part of this institution. You are an officer of the court. You can never wear the hat of a politician there. அதெல்லாம் தேரி அப்படிலாம் ஒண்ணுமே கிடையாது. There is nothing like that. So once that happens, who are the persons who are elevated to the bench? Everything is on merits? No. And today with the collegium system, there is no rhyme or reason to make somebody as a judge at all. Many rotten apples become judges. So there is no sort of, you are not answerable to anybody for this. Correct? So people from here get into the system, in the judiciary also. If that happens, particularly the higher judiciary, if you have an affiliation to a particular ideology, if you have an affiliation to a particular political thing, if that is the criteria, then you are not bringing that person because you think that person will be able to deliver to the institution. You bring him because you want him to sing your ideology, to support your pattern of governance, to ensure that what you bring is not interfered. When he was addressing all of you, I heard him saying that I do not know what he will think if we address it. I am that person. Retire ஆகி பேசுறதுல எனக்கு நம்பிக்கையே கிடையாது. I don't believe in retiring and talking. Nobody is going to listen. You must be in the system and say what problem my system is facing, and then try to bring about corrective things. குத்தம் சொல்றதுன்றது வந்து தப்பு. But என்ன problem இருக்குன்றது வந்து you have to identify and do whatever is best from your side. You have to keep on doing your work. There is no use in saying what is there, whatever comes, this system is not real, kaligalam. Then please do not be in the system. Get out. You have to do what you have to do in the system. So, if that is the type of persons who are coming, and the type of advocates who are getting into the profession, they are governed by a body called as Bar Council of India. The Bar Council of India had never had elections in the last 10 years. And the data which they are providing is all slipshod data. And there are many cases where people who are not advocates are practicing as advocates, who are not qualified as advocates are practicing as advocates. It's a huge country, sir. Please understand that first. Singapore பார்த்திருக்கியான்னு கேட்பாங்க. Singapore Madras size கூட இல்லை. Comparing Singapore and Singapore's discipline, the way in which Singapore, how can you operate it in India? India is a very complicated country basically. You don't have a country like India anywhere else in the world, am I right? You cannot find some country like this. Multi-religion, multi-language, multi-cultures. It's all so varied. People in Tamil Nadu's mindset is very different from the very adjacent state Kerala. Very adjacent state Andhra Pradesh. North Kerala. North people think that Tamil Nadu, oh okay, it's there. Oh, somewhere, okay, down the line, India, right, fine. That's the extent to which they know about Tamil Nadu. So, இவ்வளோ ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்கு. And the judicial system per se, there is a mismatch between the number of litigations, number of judges who are handling those litigations. The number is so big that even if I work for 24 hours a day in a particular portfolio, it will take me 50 years for me to dispose of. Meaning, it's theoretical, I'm saying. So, there is a mismatch between the number of judges and the litigation. And the system that prevails does not ensure a speedy disposal. It only encourages adjournments. It only encourages sort of dragging on proceedings. So if a case comes into the system and it sees no light at all at the end of the tunnel, then where will we be placed? That 77 itself is surprising for me. But there is nothing to criticize on that. Then we have to think in terms what is that we have to do. So therefore now they are coming up with this big sort of push they are giving to mediation. Yeah. Mediation they are encouraging because in developed countries you are bound to get into mediation and arbitration initially. Because once you come to the court they finish you off. The cost that they impose on you will completely finish you. You are out. You will be in the streets. So they say that before you come to court, do all these things and do. So today, mediation as a process is being pushed. Lok adalats are being set to see if some compromise can happen. என்னன்னு சொல்றோம் அவங்கள்ட்ட, சார் நீங்க கண்டெஸ்ட் பண்ணுங்க, பட் 20 வருஷம் கழிச்சு வரும், பயந்துருவோம், 10 வானவன் இப்போ என்ன நடக்குதோ பார்த்து முடிச்சு. So we have to find a plethora of problems. It's not a small problem about which we are. And the number of advocates are on the rise. Tamil Nadu, or statistics about it, there's something like 1.20 lakhs advocates. Different levels. High court, different levels. And then the level that they are indispensable. If you want to get a notary, you cannot cross the line beyond adukku or 4 பேர் வெச்சு தான் நீங்க பண்ண முடியும், because it is his daily livelihood. He has absolutely no idea about case, trial, law, nothing. He is more so we have these varied levels of advocates. Law education. How is the school of excellence and this national law universities standard in government colleges standard? There is no equal standard. So the product which comes out of that again is varied. And the best of brains nowadays does not take up litigation at all. They have so much of alternative. They get into some LLM, some people get into High Supreme Court directly. Lots of things happens. So it's a very complicated structure. This country is a very complicated structure. You cannot employ any formula that you employ anywhere else in the world. Sometimes I will feel like violating traffic signals. அது இல்லை, சிங்கப்பூர்லாம் சில டைம் போயிட்டு இல்லை, எதையோ கீழே போடணும் போல போகும். இவ்வளோ நீட்டாக இருந்தால் மீனிங் ஐ டோன்ட் லைக் இட் அட் ஆல். You understand, I'm trying to exaggerate. Okay, people will stand with and the distance now, their perfection will make me angry actually. It's like some well-oiled machinery மாதிரி ஓடிட்டு இருக்கும் அந்த country. இந்த இடத்துல இவ்வளோ பார்க்கிங் ஸ்பேஸ் தான் இருக்குது, ஸோ ப்ளீஸ் கோ அண்ட் பார்க்கிங் அட் டிஃப்ரெண்ட் பிளேஸ். அதெல்லாம் நமக்கு சொல்லவே கூடாது. அவங்க போய் முட்டி மோதிக்குது. We are used to that. And look at the other countries which are operating. It operates this way. So நான் சொன்னது வந்து it's a combination of factors. And unless and otherwise the judiciary is going to stand tall. Judiciary need not dominate everyone, but judiciary must ensure that what the constitution makers wanted this country to move forward, like what Dr. Ambedkar said, we have now given you this. It is for you to make or mar it. If ultimately you fail, you have failed the constitution. That's all. That is there. But you do whatever you want to do. You have the material before you. And the material நீ எப்படி யூஸ் பண்றதுன்ற பொறுத்த விஷயம். அதுக்கு men and matters are very important. If men of stature, who is that who gets into the positions in bar associations, in advocate associations, in Bar Council of India, people without practice. They don't have practice at all. How do they manage? Their position is enough. They will come to the court, they will browbeat. They will think you secretary or secretary. What is that you can argue in a court? So if a judge is able to do that, how many judges will be able to do? Then judges avungaluடைய personal interest. So for that, the bar exactly know how to cater to it. எந்த இடத்துல இந்த டச் பண்ணானாக்க இந்த குருவான்னு தெரியும். They keep on providing that your own weaknesses. So it's a combination of factors. We are undergoing a sort of evolution into which there are some very sharp young minds are coming. But the problem with these young minds is that they don't have the patience. They don't know how to adjust. They are distracted like nobody's business. So in spite of having that capacity to perform, there are lots of other things which are coming in their way now today. First thing, this is a generation of, this generation is called as anxious generation. There is a new book on that. It's called as anxious generation. This generation is so anxious even to cross road, to go from one place to another. Next what happens? Continuous anxiety, 30 years sugar, 35 years blood pressure, 40 heart attack, stroke, finished. And they have all read IIT, IIM, this, that, nobody else. And this is the end result. So this is a major challenge. So you may say that I have young persons with a lot of, will they be able to manage failure? Will they undergo failure? Are they capable of handling, meaning they will be thrown out? From young age onwards, failure was the only thing which was happening. So failure na or vishayame illa enakku. You criticize, very good, criticize. You want to spit, no problem at all. Unless and otherwise you have that attitude here. In India, it's very difficult to. So youngsters must first know that உரிமையெல்லாம் இருக்கு. You have all rights, you can claim this and that. What happens when it comes to you? You are enrolling. Are you prepared to wait for 15 years to get into that bracket? Are you willing to continuously do it? No. You last time I saw you only see the bottom of the mountain and the summit. You forget that there is a mountain there. And the mountain ஏறும்போது இடிக்கும், கீ விடும், கீழே விழுந்து கால் உடைஞ்சிரும். And when you enter into that summit, you are experienced with all those bruises in your body. Are you willing to get into that? I don't know. Parents are not allowing till 18 years. And after 18 years, they don't have the habit of doing anything independently. And they have peer pressure, this pressure, that pressure. So these are the combinations which works in the system. So to really pick up judiciary alone and think that judiciary will be able to do a lot of things, it's not possible. As Hamilton said, that this is the weakest part. This is the weakest, because we may write orders, but if tomorrow somebody says, I will not execute your order, what happens? Will I go and do it? So judiciary, Hamilton wrote in his papers that it is the weakest organ in the entire scheme of things, because legislature, they are the law-making people. Executive are the persons who are executing things. They will make it happen. They will arrest. They will do this and that. Judiciary, it's a paper. So judiciary per se cannot bring about a big change. They may momentarily you may bring confidence in the minds of the public, but that is of no use unless it is going to reciprocate in other organs also.
Correct. I'd like to club two more questions actually. regarding the transparency and independence of the judiciary. Now, as Lordship had mentioned, that judiciary is something that needs to stand strong. Of course, it is not the most strongest organ, as you mentioned, but nevertheless, people do have that faith in the judiciary, which is indispensable for the institution to flourish. But over the past so many years, questions have been raised with regard to the appointment of judges, as you also mentioned how the collegium system works. Is there any alternative that can enhance the transparency in the appointment of judges, in your opinion, Your Lord?
Collegium system by itself is not a good method of appointing judges. But today you don't have an alternative. If today you allow the executive to get in, that will be the end of judiciary. That will be the end of judiciary. Today you don't have an alternative. So when the NJAC came, National Judicial Academy, this thing came, the problem was regarding those 2 persons of expertise. That's the only problem area. And they wanted to pip it. They wanted to sort of overcome it by getting somebody from the government into that. So if that happens, every other appointment will be only government appointees, which was very regularly happening. Why is it that Judges 2 case came up? Because they found that the government was packing their people. All their yes men were sent to the judiciary, to the High Court or the Supreme Court. So when the yes man goes, the policies, the decisions that are taken will all be upheld. That's what a politician wants. A politician does not want an independent judiciary at all. So it is not the will of the politician. It is not something a politician just wants an yes judiciary. He does not want a judiciary which will think independently, which will question them and all. He dislikes judiciary. Right? So, is collegium system the best method? No. But today you don't have an alternative. At least because of collegium, there are some good candidates who get elevated as judges, who otherwise would not have got elevated at all. And in spite of collegium holding the fort, in the last 2 years, does not really work. The government has its own way of dealing with it. Just sit on the file. Okay, you recommend second time, I'll sit on the file. What do you do? You physically drag him and take the file. You cannot do it. Ultimately, he has to do it, no? So, they have their own way of doing it. So, there is a pressure that is mounting today. The government wants to have a say in judicial appointments. There is nothing wrong. That's the way it happens in US. It's an outright political appointment, basically.
Yeah.
You'll have to belong to, you'll have to be a supporter of this or that. Public or this. So that's how it happens. But ultimately, after you hold that position, there are some very serious cases where it will tilt based on which political background you are affiliated to. Correct? Today, considering what is happening in India, what has been happening in India, if you give that extra edge to the government in appointment of judges to the constitutional post, the independence of judiciary to that extent will get watered down. So today you don't have an alternative than what you have as a collegium system. But in a collegium system, according to me, this is my opinion, apart from those 3 judges, senior judges with Chief Justice and 5 judges in the Supreme Court, you should also rope in some senior advocates, some senior academicians, some persons who have an interest in the society as a part of it, so that the name which they suggest, these people will at least question why this name has this problem. This name, I have read this name to have said this in a particular occasion like this. This name seems to be too affiliated with this organization. So there will be somebody who will question it. So by questioning it, you will get that balance. There will be somebody who will ensure that the balance is maintained. Today there is no balance. Today some 3 judges choose, some 5 judges choose. Nobody knows why they were chosen. What consultations went on. But the issue is, should you bring in government? Not now. Highly unsafe. Government should not get a part in this at all, according to me. Particularly when you have a majoritarian government, a majority government. Majority governments are always very, very difficult to handle. If you look at the independence of judiciary, you will find that when a party was in power with a majority seats, judiciary was under severe stress. The 70s, up to the 70s period. And the so-called independent judiciary came when coalition governments came. The coalition governments came from 90s, 89 coalition government. So there was already a pull pressure in the very existence of the government. So one more fight which they wanted to have was with the judiciary. And the period la you pathina judicial appointment, second judicial appointment, SP Gupta case only at that point of time it will come. So independence of judiciary during a coalition portion and the weakness of the judiciary when you have an absolute majority government is something which is regularly happening in this country. It is not about the A party or the B party. So the independence of judiciary will be really put to test when you have majority government. That's where you will have to show your steel. That's where you have to show your steel. If you are to show your steel, there are some fundamentals which you have to. There must be no phantoms, there must be no bones in your cupboard. The first thing they will always be looking at the judges, you will get weaknesses. Human being, yeah. So you should not have any such bones in your cupboard. Number two, you should not have any aspirations to move up. Moving up means what? Becoming Chief Justice, becoming Supreme Court Judge, becoming Chief Justice of India, and after that becoming member of the tribunal, becoming a member of parliament. That human beings always have the craving to get into a position, and particularly people who have held this position, where police will come, people will salute, car will be ready, you will be given a special space in every. Once, if you are used to that, and suddenly at 62, then so what you will do, just to ensure that you are in the good books of the government, in some important cases you will not show that independence. So your name will get into that tribunal 5 varsham. So till 65, 68 years, you can keep on doing this. If that is there, then you will not get a strong independent judiciary. You will never get it. Then the third thing is that you must fearlessly uphold Constitution. Conscience is not a conscience, my conscience or your conscience. Constitutional conscience. Ultimately, everything must fall under Constitution. Constitution is the Bible. That is the Bhagavad Gita. That is the Quran. That has to be complied with. Judges will have to ensure that you don't compromise on Constitution. If these three things happen, then there is a big chance of having an independent judiciary, which is very unlikely. Which is very unlikely because men of stature are becoming more rare. A tall man in every other field, every other profession, tall man is becoming a rarity. Slowly it's all melting down. You don't have a person to whom you will go and approach and ask him, sir, this is the problem. How? So, when you talk about judiciary and independent judiciary, it will remain as a theory till men of stature get into that, which is getting more and more difficult, and powerful governments don't want men of stature into that position. They know even Tara Padwan, அப்படின்றது அவங்களுக்கு நல்லா தெரியும். ஸோ இட்ஸ் அ சேலஞ்ச்.
Very much. But I think the Lordship has clearly highlighted what exactly is the issue with why the judiciary is not standing up to it. But however, we have in some instances throughout history where the judiciary has stood up.
That is always there.
That is always there.
That is always there. Or else by now this country would have perished.
Pretty much. The judiciary has been that standing pillar that has kept up democracy.
Keshavananda Bharati.
Keshavananda Bharati.
Just think about what would have happened if Keshavananda Bharati was not there. The type of amendments they were attempting to bring into constitution saying a prime minister's election nobody can challenge. That's the type of amendment that was brought in. Every judgment that was passed against the prime minister in the election is deemed to be non-honest. Can you believe such amendments being brought in? And such amendments being upheld by some judges, and judges who did not want to do it being overlooked for the position of Chief Justice. All this has happened in this country. So, but அந்த டைமில் ஒரு சேவியர் ஒருத்தர் வருவார். இந்த சிஸ்டம் எங்கேயாவது ஒரு ஆளை பிடிச்சி ஒரு சேவியர் வரதான் செய்வாங்க. சேவியர் எங்கே பார்த்தாலும் ஈவன் இந்த பொலிட்டிக்கல் சைட் சம் சேவியர் வில் கம், somebody will come. It is becoming rare சொல்ல வர அவ்வளோதான். It is all becoming very rare. But our inspiration must be that rare person. We should be that. What is the use of living some ordinary life, sir? If you are not able to stand up for that, what is that you are doing in this world? எப்போ பார்த்தாலும் டிவி பார்த்துக்கணும், எப்போ பார்த்தாலும் வெட்டியே இதை பண்ணிட்டு கிரிட்டிசைஸ் பண்ணிட்டு அதை பண்ணிட்டு at the end of your life I don't feel like living ஏன் சொல்றோம்? Why do we say that? It means that you have led a useless life. Only then you make such a statement. Why are we so fed up? Why are we are supposed to be happy inherently, correct? We are born to be happy only. Everything which we do in life, even this meeting which you have come here, why did you come here? To feel sad? No. Meaning, I will get something out of it. That will make me happy and satisfied. That will improve my... So every other thought, every other deed is all moving towards happiness only. If at the end of the life, you don't feel happy at all, what is the use of your position? What is the use of the money you earn? What is the use of the fame which you earn? I was watching this movie called as Elvis 2 days back. I think every one of you must watch that movie. Elvis Presley is called as the king of the rock and roll. He was the person who brought rock and roll into this world. And his fame was phenomenal. He is not some ordinary person. He died at the age of 42. If you look at the life of Elvis Presley, why am I asking you to watch this movie? You must be a rounded person basically. You should watch everything that is happening around you. You must have an experience of everything around you. Or else how will you appreciate this life? So, what is that we are all aspiring to become? Either we want to become rich, or we want to become famous, or we want to become powerful. Is there anything to be added into this? These are the three things. We want to be rich, we want to be powerful, we want to be famous. A combination of these things. So the question is, if you become that, if you become rich, if you become powerful, if you become famous, does it ultimately end in happiness? That's the question. That's the question. Why am I putting this question? Because the reason why we live this life is to be happy. The common denominator is happiness. What brings happiness is the issue. So we have to just look into people who have got into that position. Elvis Presley was one of the most powerful person than the president at that point of time. President of USA who kadikira security oda jaasti security was given to Elvis Presley. Money, kekre on.
Famous? Absolutely famous. World famous. Meaning, women were just falling at his feet. If that is what a man wants, at least.
Please go and watch that movie and see how he ends how the end comes to him. If somebody, after that movie, I wrote a small this thing to my friends. I said, if somebody were to give me a boom saying, you will be born as Elvis Presley, I will say, no, please. Please, don't put me into that. Just put me into some ordinary family. These are very, very, very important lessons we have to learn in life. Because you can be alone in a crowd. You can be alone in a relationship. Between a husband and wife, there are two. But in many instances, it is alone only. We started with one family court. Today we have 7 family courts. Jam-packed. All 7 family courts are jam-packed. And the judges who are regularly dealing with the cases, they also get into divorce. People don't even know what is happening. You are talking about the fighting case. 6 months is too much a time for 2 people to live together. How many cases I see? 6 months, 7 months. What is the problem? Some adjustment problem. எப்படி 2 பேரும் சண்டை போடாமல் இருக்க முடியும்? Is it possible for 2 people to always keep smiling? Only some mad people can do it. How is it that you cannot fight with somebody? You can live without fighting with somebody. And particularly during your courtship and all that, your best of your things will come. கூட வாழும்போது தான் தெரியும். All bad things will come out. It's not bad or good. It's something which you have not seen on the other side. And once you live with that person will start looking at what your friends don't know, what your parents don't know. Your partner knows. The partner knows the in and out of you. One action of you, they will understand what you are thinking. That is the biggest problem that we are facing today. When that is the problem that we are facing today, then we have to be very clear as to what we want to take up and live. After all, what is the society? What is the system prevailing? It consists of individuals. Correct? So, what the majority of the individuals are is reflected in a society, is reflected in an institution. Judges don't fall from the sky. Politicians don't fall from the sky. Everybody is coming from this society. If the overall problem in the society is this, how do you expect men of stature to be there? Correct? Nemo.quad non-habit transfer of property act. You can give only what you have. Get out the vessel. You can only give what you have. Meaning, அதை நம்ம ஆளுங்க லோக்கலாக என்ன சொல்லுவாங்க, ஆப்பல் அவ்வளவுதான் தட்டில் விடுவாங்க. கரெக்ட்? இதில் என்ன வருதோ அதுதான் தட்டில் விடுவாங்க. இது காலியாக இருந்தால் இங்கேயும் காலியாக தான் இருக்கும். So, what you have in the society is only available for you to take up positions. If your society has a problem, you cannot expect somebody to be above all that and smile at you. Only Nityananda can do it. So, in the Puridal, we have to understand like this. We have to always understand it from the roots. And for that understanding, some living experiences, there are some fantastic movies which have come in OTT. Please watch those. எனக்கு பெரிய இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன் மூவி. நான் டெய்லி வீட்டுக்கு வந்தால் I have watched till the latest movies. I have not left even one. I know that till the latest வரைக்கும் என்ன இருக்கோ. இப்போ நேத்தி கூட 370 பார்த்துருந்தேன், ஆர்டிகல் 370. I keep on watching. It's a good way of relaxing, and at the same time you open up to a lot of things. You really open up to a lot of things. And some movies really change your character. Tappad or movie. Tappad is all about one slap. That's all.
Tappad is that husband at a particular point of time will slap that his wife. The wife will proceed further for divorce for that one slap. Question is one slap divorce. The whole padame broke down. But it is at the end of the movie you will understand it is not about one slap. What makes you slap? What gave you the right to slap? So it's a prevailing system, a prevailing attitude of men towards women. I thought, correct, we are taking them for granted, meaning we are doing a lot of things. How many times we say this? After all, a lady. We keep using expressions like that. And when the push comes to the shove, and the yella kevalam vella varum. Transgender பார்த்து நம்ம என்னென்னமா சொல்லிருக்கோம். என்னென்ன சொல்லிருக்கோம் நம்ம? நமக்கு அந்த ஒரு சென்சிட்டிவிட்டியே இல்லாம. So movies will teach you all these things. எனக்கு ஒரு பெரிய prime source வந்து movie, TED Talks, and YouTube. There are a lot of things which you can watch. You can watch dirty things or you can watch good things. It all depends on what your mind is. So this is what I would want to. If maybe after this you can give the mic to them also.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we're coming to that part of the discussions for today. Last question from my side would be with regard to judicial activism. So, as your lordship mentioned that Hamilton himself had written that judiciary is the weakest point in the structure of a country. But when it comes to judicial activism, is where the judiciary raises from its chair and goes into the crux of the issue and tries to assuage it. But
see, the system as such must be. People's hope are on what? They think that a system will work and they will be able to survive in a society. That's the minimum that people are expecting out of us. So, if some of the organs fail, the left out organ will have to just rise up to the occasion. That's the balancing act which somehow sustains that hope in judiciary, because for many judiciary is the last hope. People without power, people without connections, people without this pull and push, for them judiciary is the end of it. Even for powerful politicians, sometimes judiciary is the last resort. I'm sure they'll realize that also. So, when a situation comes where the confidence of people is going down, without the support of the people, without the support of the society, there is no question of even keeping a system like that. Why do you want a judiciary which is judiciary where others don't have any hope about the judiciary? What is the use? Why do you have lawmakers about whom people don't have an opinion at all? Why do you want a police whom the people don't believe at all? Why all these things are there? So this exists based on what hope the people want to have, based on the hope that the people repose on them. So whenever the others fail and the people think that finished, there is nothing much, many times judiciary gets it. Judiciary, somehow somebody from the judiciary raises up to the occasion and builds up the confidence of the people. The question is, will it really end in something fantastic? It may not end. But that confidence is very important. To sustain a society, to sustain a system, the hope and confidence is more important than what is going to be the end result of it. End result in any case is not in anybody's hands. But that hope that somebody from the system will question this, that somebody in the system will fill up that gap. Many times it is not judicial activism. It is the need of the hour that one particular organ raises up to the occasion just to fill up that void, just to fill up that big vacuum.
So therefore, I would say that this is how the system must be. Every time when there is a vacuum, somebody has to come and fill it up. If they don't fill it up, then all these things which are working for the people will cease to exist. There is no use at all.
Right, Your Lordship. I think with that we can move to the question and answer session from the audience. If there's anybody who would like to ask questions to His Lordship, anything from your side, friends? Yeah. Molly, can you just give him the mic?